Hi, my name is Dave Fiedler, and I just had the privilege of spending a week at AFCOE-Europe at their new facility in Portugal. I just want to give a quick report on that. Number one, the Lord has worked a miracle in providing a beautiful place. It's nice, it's quite attractive, but it's perfect. It's perfect with the bedrooms and the bathrooms and the meeting hall for the classes and everything. And it's just, it's quite a miracle from the story that I've heard as to how this came about, and I just like miracles. I like miracles with happy endings especially, and this is a very happy ending. And I love coming to AFCOE-Europe because they're working in lines that I enjoy, and I agree, and it's fun for me. The students were gracious, and all the rest, I have no complaints whatsoever. It's a lot of fun. And I want to share a couple of quotations that kind of capture the idea of what they're trying to do here, and maybe give a little rationale for what's going on. So the first one is a divinely inspired answer to how to deal with the problem of churches that are dying out. You know, there's a lot of places where there's these smaller churches, you know, and sometimes the membership's getting older, and they're, you know, how small can you go, you know? And so a lot of people have been looking for the answers. What can we do? What can we do to get some life back into the church here? And we've tried different things, and, you know, some of them I'm more fond of than others, and we'll just leave it at that for right now. But here's a divinely inspired prescription for how to go about this, okay? So this comes from Volume 6 of the Testimonies, page 267. It says this. It says, get the young men and women in the churches to work. Okay, well, work sounds like work, okay? But listen to the kind of work here. It says, combine medical missionary work with the proclamation of the third angel's message. Medical missionary work, what's that? It's pretty simple, really. It amounts to helping people every way that you can, okay? Make regular organized efforts to lift the church members out of the dead level in which they have been for years. You know what? Sometimes you look at these little churches and you see these sometimes older members, and, you know, they don't have the energy they used to have at one point or the other. And you know, we could say they're in a dead level, and maybe it's their fault. I don't know. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But you know what? They're happy. They're happy to see somebody come in the church and bring some life back into it. They're happy to see this sort of thing. They're not going to be a problem to you. You know, you may have to help them, well, come up a notch or two in some areas, but hey, we all need that. It says, send out into the churches workers who will live the principles of health reform. Makes sense. Let those be sent who can see the necessity of self-denial and appetite, or they will be a snare to the church. You don't want to be a snare to the church. We're going out to help the church. We're not going there to make a mess out of it, okay? So get the appetite under control. Learn a little bit about health reform, you know, okay? It's not that bad. It's not that hard to do. And notice what she says. See if the breath of life will not then come into our churches. A new element needs to be brought into the work. There it is. How do you get breath of life into these churches that are dying out? Get the young men and women, send them out there, combine the medical missionary work with the truths of the third angel's message. It's a prescription. You might want to follow what the doctor says sometime. One more statement. I like this one too. This one's from the Review and Herald of March 4, 1902. It says, the work that the great teacher did in connection with his disciples is the example we are to follow. And then there's an ellipsis there, ... okay? It is only by an unselfish interest in those in need of help that we can give a practical demonstration of the truths of the gospel. You know, the gospel is true, but if it's nothing but words, it's kind of hollow, okay? What God's calling for is a practical demonstration of those truths. And then a couple more dots, right? And then it goes on, the Lord will give you success in this work. I like it. I don't like failing. I'm sorry. I'd rather do something I'm going to have success at. For the gospel is the power of God unto salvation when it is interwoven with the practical life, when it is lived and practiced. You know, you can take the gospel and strip it out of the practical life, and you know that which, you know, Paul says is it's the power of God unto salvation. You strip it out of the practical life, I'm not sure it qualifies anymore. You strip it out of the practical life, and the gospel becomes somebody's theory. When it's interwoven with the practical life, when it's lived in practice, it becomes the power of God in salvation. And then notice this last sentence. the union of Christ-like work for the body and Christ-like work for the soul is the true interpretation of the gospel. And you know, we've tried one and we've tried the other. And God's asking us to bring them together. You know, some people are, I just want to preach the gospel. And who cares about their body, you know? And then you get the other folks that, well, let's just go help them. Maybe they're hungry, let's feed them. But let's not bother to tell them about the gospel. How much sense does that make if you're trying to help them? The union of Christ-like work for the body and Christ-like work for the soul is what makes things tick. And Ellen White says, the Lord will give you success in this work. That's the training they're trying to do here at AFCOE-Europe. I like this program, high recommendations. I love watching the way the Lord's working here and His provision of their needs. I encourage you to, find out a little bit more about it. If you're a young person, if you're one of those young men and women, maybe you need to learn how to combine medical missionary work with the truths of the third angel's message. Maybe you're the one who needs to breathe some life back into some dying church someplace. Maybe you're an older member. Maybe you're not, not really at the training stage of life. Although I think they take older people too. Don't get me wrong. They're open-minded here. Okay. Find a way to help them. Maybe you can work out some way to take one of their graduates. Maybe that's a good way to get some life back into your church. Just get one of these graduates, and say, hey, come on over here. You can stay in my spare bedroom, and we'll, work something out. It's not that hard. And God says He'll give you success. I pray success for the students I've been working with for the last week and for this program. I encourage you to look into it. AFCOE-Europe, down in Portugal, beautiful place, great program. God bless.